Hola. This week we want to introduce to you las palabras interrogativas. You might recognize the word interrogativas as one that's related to an English word, interrogatives. And if you don't recall what interrogative words are in English, you might see that this word is also related to the word interrogation. And you know that an interrogation is when someone is called in and asked a lot of questions. So what we're talking about today are the question words. If you have printed out your vocabulary list for this unit, you could pull that out and make sure that you have the right meanings next to those words, or just take out a piece of paper so that you can copy the Spanish and the English translations. These are going to be helpful for you on your Unit 1 assessments. So make sure you take careful notes. The first word we're going to do today is quién. Quién. Quién is the word for who. You could use it in this question. ¿Quién es tu profesor favorito? That would be if you're asking who your favorite professor is and it happens to be a male. Do you remember when we talked about gender, we used os to indicate most of the time in Spanish that the gender of the person we're speaking about is a male. But look at how it changes if you want to ask who your female favorite teacher is. You would say, ¿Quién es tu profesora favorita? ¿Quién? ¿Quién es tu profesor favorito? ¿Quién es tu profesora favorita? The next one is quiénes, and this is just the plural form of quién. In English, we really cannot make the word who plural, but we could say who all. So you could use this question with this question word. ¿Quiénes son tus amigos? ¿Quiénes son tus amigos? Who are your friends? ¿De quién is another question phrase. In Spanish, it's literally of whom. In English, we would say whose. So you could ask the question, ¿De quién es la pluma? ¿De quién es la pluma? Of whom is the pen, or whose pen is this? If you take that word quién and make it plural, it becomes quiénes, whose. And again, we don't really have a plural form of this word, but in Spanish you can. So when you ask, ¿De quiénes son los libros? You're actually assuming that the books belong to more than one person. ¿De quiénes son los libros? ¿De quiénes? ¿Qué is the next question word, ¿qué? And it can be found in the question, ¿Qué hora es? ¿Qué hora es? This is the question, what time is it? The word hora looks a lot similar to our word hour. So in Spanish, you ask, ¿Qué hora es? When you want to know the time. ¿Qué? ¿Cuándo is the word in Spanish for when? When? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? That's an important question, right? When is your birthday? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? Cumpleaños is the word in Spanish for birthday. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? ¿Dónde is the word for where? A good question to use ¿dónde in is ¿Dónde estás? Where are you? ¿Dónde estás? ¿De dónde? De dónde means from where. So the word de in this context means from. ¿De dónde? So you could ask this question, ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? Where are you from? If you were meeting a new person, this is a question you might want to know. ¿De dónde eres? ¿De dónde eres? ¿A dónde means to where. So the prefix on the word dónde is simply to where. So you could use this in the question, ¿A dónde vas? ¿A dónde vas? Where are you going? ¿Por qué is the question word why? Why? ¿Por qué? And we just use that as a question all by itself a lot of times. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? In fact, parents use this a lot. Or children might use this with their parents. ¿Por qué, mamá? ¿Por qué? And a typical answer in Spanish and in English might be ¿por qué? Because. I'm sure that some of you have had that discussion with your parents when you've asked ¿por qué? And their answer has been ¿por qué? So if you notice, they changed the way the two words por and que became one word, and we took the accent mark off, so it became ¿por qué? Because instead of ¿por qué? Why? ¿Cómo? Is the word how, and a lot of times you'll use this in the question ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Just asking someone, how are you? Another important question in Spanish uses the word como, and that question is ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas? This is how you ask someone's name. Literally, you would translate this, how do you call yourself? A lot of times in English, we would translate it, what's your name? But it literally uses the question word ¿Cómo? How do you call yourself? Repiten, ¿Cómo te llamas? It's a good question for you to know how to use. ¿Cuánto? Is the word for how much. ¿Cuánto? ¿Cuánto? If you look at that word, it looks similar to our English word, or sounds similar even to quantity. Quantity. It's the word for how much. So you can ask ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much does it cost? ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuántos? Is how many. How many? Here's another good question you might want to ask someone you're just meeting. ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes? That means how old are you? But literally, it's asking how many years do you have? How many years do you have? ¿Cuántos años tienes? Maybe you want to ask someone about their school schedule. So then you would say ¿Cuántas clases tienes? So there's a feminine and a masculine form of that question word, ¿cuántos? ¿Cuántas? ¿Cuántas clases tienes? How many classes do you have? ¿Cuál? Is the question word which. Which? Here's an important question. ¿Cuál es tu clase favorita? ¿Cuál es tu clase favorita? Which is your favorite class? I is not technically a question word, but it's an excellent word for you to know how to use. I can be used to start a sentence with is there, are there, and it's both the singular and the plural form. So when you ask the question, ¿hay papel? You're simply asking, is there paper? Is there paper? You could also use it in a negative sense. So you could say no hay, if you wanted to say there is no or there are no. For example, no hay clases hoy. Of course, we know there are classes today, but if you wanted to say that, no hay clases hoy, there are no classes today. Well, that is all the question words that you have on your vocabulary for this week, but make sure that you have gone through this and understand how to say them and could use them in context in questions. Adios.